You're listening to Hot Cup of Code, the podcast where two Black women in tech brew up conversations about code, career, and culture.
We're talking about breaking barriers, breaking code, and everything in between.
From debugging your first app to navigating big tech, we're here to percolate ideas and stir up inspiration.
So grab your favorite mug, get cozy, and let's dive into the blend of tech and culture.
Right. We're going to kick things off by reflecting on a recent conference we attended. So we've got a lot to unpack today, but let's start off with some intros. I am Zea Whitfield. I go by Z, and I'm a software engineer and developer advocate.
And my name is Katerina Goncalves. You can call me Kat. And I am a backend Java software engineer. One of the things that Z and I have really bonded over is writing Java code and drinking coffee. So Z, what are you sipping on tonight?
So I am actually sipping on some tea tonight.
Same.
We are recording in the evening, and it's just too late for us grandmas to be sipping on coffee. But I'm actually enjoying a blend called Fireside Spice. And
I love that. This is perfect for our spicy conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like a, I don't know, mulled wine kind of tea flavor. So I'm not like a tea connoisseur. It's a blend. It was pre-made. I purchased it. It's very, very tasty. What about you? What you got going on?
I have got an oldie but a goodie. I've got that chamomile ginger. You can never go wrong.
A classic.
So one of the things that we were talking about, we were thinking about what was our AfroTech experience, and we have it all broken down for you. So we are going to talk about everything from romance, pricing, accessibility, some of the latest tech trends that we saw, and also a lot of our networking experiences. So let's get straight to the tea.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just start out with, I think, probably some of the more entertaining elements, right? So there's been a lot of buzz online about people attending AfroTech to make romantic connections.
Ooh.
Is that what these events have become? Let's get into it. Let's break it down.
Yeah. So we actually ran into someone that you're a huge fan of.
Huge fan. So we ran into Dr. Raquel Martin, who I believe on Instagram, her handle is Dr. Raquel Martin, PhD, who is a psychologist that makes a lot of content specifically that's geared towards Black and brown folks. And jokingly made a video kind of saying, your husband's not out in the street, your husband's at a conference. And it's so interesting because there has been, at least this year around, as far as I can tell, something that is a little bit new, a little bit of that criticism of folks kind of just coming to AfroTech and looking for romantic connection. Did you see any of that, Z?
You know, honestly, I was dead focused on making professional connections. However, I did see the buzz afterwards about the romantic connections. And, well, you know, that's not even entirely true. I do remember someone that we ran into, or maybe I ran into, saying something about, like, in the AfroTech app, someone posted, you know, thirst trap of themselves, and maybe someone replying with their number. I don't know. I didn't see it myself, but I did hear someone mention that while I was in Houston. I personally would not approach romantic connections that way, but I don't think that there's anything wrong in general with trying to find romantic connections at a professional conference. So I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Honestly, I totally agree. My initial reaction was, A, are they talking about the conference that we were just at? I didn't see that at all. I really did not see any of that. But what would the problem have been with that, right? Tech is a huge part of our life and lifestyle. What would be wrong with trying to meet a partner who shares that in common with you? And especially, I live in a place that, you know, doesn't have a lot of the diversity. Well, first of all, it doesn't compare to AfroTech, but what is the problem with using this as an opportunity to connect with people? Sparks could fly. First of all, if you can meet your husband in an elevator or at the
Sure.
bar or at any place, right? People meet in
Literally,
all kind of weird ways.
yeah, people meet their romantic partners at work. So it's
Okay, that's a fact, actually. I think it's
exactly.
one of the leading places that people meet their significant others. So I just think at the end of the day, of course, there's a line of professionalism. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
personally, we have lines that we would not cross, right? We are responsible for ourselves. If you meet somebody and you see, I don't know, you see stars in each other's eyes, I don't think that that's a problem, right? This is like a
Yeah,
4 or 5 day event for some people. Yeah, I think a lot of that criticism was taking away from the focus of all the positivity that we experienced.
absolutely. I think sometimes these discussions pop up specifically around Black events, Black professional
Mm,
events, because
hmm
I remember there being complaints about render as well,
hmm
maybe not with the romantic connections, but about the social aspect of it.
Right.
And I guess kind of moving away a little bit from the romantic things, but I feel that when we're talking about Black conferences, there's a lot
hmm
of respectability politics that come with
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
from other Black people. And then also just like a lot of eyes on what Black people are doing from non-Black people. So
Yeah.
I do think that the criticism is for sure blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with finding, something a little sweet to look at while you're there. There was a lot of
Yes,
beautiful melanated people. Um,
absolutely.
it wasn't my focus. I am
Exactly.
coupled up for a long time now, but yeah, like if you're young, beautiful, and
Yeah.
ready to mingle in more than one way, then go for it.
This whole controversy, and controversy feels like such an extreme word to use, but
It really
this
does.
topic, it is, right? Like this topic, actually, so Morgan DeBon, who is the founder of Blavity Media, and a real figurehead, another woman that I greatly admire professionally, she did address this actually. And one of the things that she said is that the mission of Blavity as a media group is all Black people are happy.
Love
And
that.
that just resonated with me because happiness, yes, that means getting a job, working in tech, increasing your skills. But there are other ways to be happy and fulfilled, right? We were looking to network and chat with people and really build some of our professional network and meet people. But everybody has a different purpose, and it's not
Yes.
really our place to judge. And I think you're so right. Those respectability politics come into play. We are whole human beings, right? And so we so rarely get to bring our personal selves to our work environments because
Hmm.
it's not always welcoming. So having the ability to do that at a tech conference like AfroTech, I thought that was amazing. And so it felt like just really picking at the corner of like not the point.
Yeah, absolutely agree. 100%. Loved seeing Black people get
Mm-hmm.
to shine professionally, but
Yeah.
also dance and socialize and really just have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sorry, we did not experience any of the drama, but you know, uh, we could see how people maybe blew it out of proportion. Let's talk about the price model
Mm-hmm.
and the cost of going to AfroTech.
Right.
So we both attended AfroTech using the general admissions tickets.
Mm-hmm.
I personally was a recipient of the Google Conference scholarship, so I did not pay for my ticket. Kat?
And I did pay for my ticket. I paid full ticket price. I definitely looked into avenues to getting my ticket sponsored. I think a lot of people do that. But yeah, I paid just for price transparency. I fully believe in that. I feel like Z, you also do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I paid just over $500 for my ticket. I think it was about 520, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not gonna lie, when I pressed buy, that felt like a large number. And I feel like coming out of the conference at the end of it, I feel a little bit differently.
Okay. So just before we go into our feelings about the pricing model, just in case anyone doesn't know, there are a few options for you to buy your ticket. I believe that there was obviously the general admission, which I think this 2025, they're going to be calling it the premier ticket. There's also a student ticket. There's company sponsored tickets.
Yeah.
all access ticket. There's also the Founders Summit ticket and the Women's Summit ticket, which are, I guess, add-ons.
Okay.
So for 2025, the Premier ticket or General Access ticket is looking to be about $450 plus a service fee as of right now with the the early bird prices.
Right.
And all access, just on the opposite end of that, is $2,250 plus service fee. So let's get into what we think the value of those tickets are.
This was my first time at AfroTech. I really did not have a frame of reference. It is more expensive than other conference tickets that I've purchased. And I know a lot of folks get their conference ticket sponsored by their company, right? And so that $500 price tag is not expensive. I paid for mine out of my own pocket. And I really viewed it as an investment into myself and an investment into my professional development, right? Being in rooms with people that I might not have the opportunity to bump into in my city or, in my own local tech network. And I absolutely got that. When I was purchasing tickets, I did click through some of the options. And I have to say, I was floored at the price of the all access ticket.
Absolutely.
I was shocked at the price. And so I am not going to say that that is not a ticket that is appropriately priced or valuable. I don't know if that's for me to say. I think I would really need to see more to know
For
that
sure.
that was an appropriate price tag.
Yeah, I think that we got what we were looking for with our general access tickets, which was really the opportunity to network with companies that were hiring. And that pretty much all came from our time on the expo floor. And there were, of course, workshops and sessions that were available. The ones that were available to the general access tickets were far and few between. And to me, it was so infrequent that it wasn't really worth disrupting my time on the expo floor to break away for a session that I wasn't super excited about. And not to compare, but having attended Render, and it was pretty much almost all exciting sessions, and I wanted to attend them all. I didn't want to spend as much time on the expo floor at that conference. So I think like Kat said, it depends on your goals. So if you're interested in networking and connecting with employers and maybe getting some of that sweet swag on the expo floor, maybe the general access ticket is enough. If you're looking to get those sessions from the celebrity speakers and you have the money to ball out, maybe go for the all access pass or get your company to sponsor it.
Right. It is all about what does your education stipend look like? And that's also part of the timing of the conference, right? This is happening in November. So for some people, there might not be an education stipend left because maybe they've used it attending other events earlier in the year.
Right.
Or maybe they're trying to use it all up by the end of the year. And so that higher price. So I think there are entry points. And it's interesting because I heard about it's not tech related festival, but a festival that did individually price each session. And people were not really enjoying that. But I feel like if I had been able to maybe purchase an add-on for one individual session that was really meaningful to me, I probably would have done that. And so I wonder if there's ever a future where those add-ons niche down in that way. I would be curious to see it.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of add-ons, we do have the Founders add-on, which is more towards like entrepreneurs, business or startup owners, and then the Women's Summit add-on. I think in this case, I don't know that I would. Oh, well, I guess I'll just say I don't think that it's really a great look to have a woman's surcharge. So if you are a woman and you're looking for that sort of community and that additional support and the topics that might be more relevant to you, I feel like $250 is a little bit steep for that. And I'm wondering if there's a way to subsidize that cost a little bit. Like if we're
Right.
having this conference that is for marginalized folks, I think for trying to be I don't know, like respectful of that sort of intersectionality, that
Yeah.
maybe there's some way to spread that cost out to everyone and maybe have some special programming for women.
Definitely. We're talking about a tech conference that is geared toward an underrepresented group, right? It's for the Black
Yeah.
community clearly and openly. And so having a space that is representative of an even more underrepresented community
Yes. Thank you.
within the Black tech community, don't know how I feel about it. And it might be too soon to say. At this time or 6 months from now, I could be saying, oh man, I need that Women's Summit add-on. I think it's hard to think about what that looks like. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
imagine what that looks like. And I have to be honest with you, we met many amazing women in tech, and I felt like that sisterhood was there. I don't
Absolutely.
know. I don't know if I, I don't know if anyone did not feel that way. We definitely felt it. So I feel like if unless it feels crucial to you, crucial to your why for attending AfroTech, I don't know. I think it's a skip. I'm not a founder, so I can't say what founders
Mm-hmm.
need, but I do understand, right? A lot of times you're making really crucial decisions about where to spend money in your business, and that extra $250, maybe for you, that's the thing that gets you to that next place. And maybe
Right.
it's not the best use of your funds as a founder or a startup or an early career anything. That's not for me to say. But I will not be purchasing a Women's Summit ticket, at least not now.
Right.
And who knows? I'm hoping that it appeals to me because it's exactly the type of community that I would welcome with open arms. I just don't know. I don't know if I can jump in with both feet on it.
Yeah. And maybe in a couple of months, we'll see what that additional day of programming looks like
Right.
and the access to that summit stage looks like.
Right.
Maybe there is something really, really valuable there and that
Yeah.
extra investment will be worth it. But my gut instinct is that's a pass for me,
Yeah.
you
Same.
know? So I think we can maybe shift gears a little bit and talk about what we saw on the expo floor.
Oh my gosh, the Exo 4 is amazing. And it was such an almost overwhelming experience. There were so many companies. It was kind of hard even to just get across the room because there's just so many friendly faces, so many folks that you want to talk with. And so I think just drilling down into like one specific thing that we both noticed, right? So in terms of the code, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk code, okay? What is hot in the coding world right now? What we saw with our own eyes on the expo floor, we talked to a lot of folks, many of them are recruiters. What are some of the languages that we are seeing in high demand right now, or, other technologies that we're seeing being heavily used?
Okay, yeah. I will just come out and say it. It's Java.
Sure,
Um
for sure.
it's Java all the way.
Yeah.
We saw the amount of money that some of the banks and financial institutions were able to put into their booths, the amount of roles that they're hiring for. FinTech had the biggest presence on the expo floor, and they are all coding in Java. So if you are someone that's coming out of college, there were a lot of entry-level roles open to you if you have exposure to Java. And if you were experienced with Java, well, that's when they're like
Yeah.
very, very eager to talk to you and,
Yeah.
maybe get you to chat with a recruiter. So in addition to Java, we also saw some Python, so lots of Python on the floor as well.
Yeah.
Those were the most popular coding languages I think we saw.
I agree. I think the main takeaway that I have when we're talking about what coding languages are actively being hired for in roles that are open right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a temptation when we're scrolling through our digital feeds, wherever that is, to see all of the bright, shiny new, right? And to think
Heck
and
yeah.
almost pressure ourselves to go in that bright, shiny new direction. And I think a lot of people are doing that, and they're making different technologies, coding languages, whatever, seems like it's the now. And that may
Mm-hmm.
be true, but there was at least one or two companies that I spoke to that are still actively coding in C++ and
Yeah.
struggling to find that skill set. Java is it seems everywhere, right? And so, yes, that bright, shiny new is appealing, but that old faithful and the reliable information, like that's not going anywhere, right? Java's not going anywhere. I saw a lot of Java, a lot of Python as
Yeah.
well, which is not surprising. Definitely React was a front end framework or front end language that seems to be in, heavy demand, but it's not the only
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and I do think that what we were seeing was heavy emphasis on either backend or full stack skill sets. So
Definitely.
I would say that React was almost like an accessory skill. It's like
Mm-hmm.
in addition to Java, I know React, so I can show that I have that skill set across the full stack.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that it was one of the main frameworks that they were really looking for. Um, in addition to like the programming language, we also saw that there was a lot of interest in cloud and cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a programmer that's looking to find like an extra niche for yourself, I would say it could definitely be a plus to have some of that AWS cloud infrastructure experience or
Definitely.
the cybersecurity experience.
Definitely.
Or I guess we're saying AWS because that's where our experience lied. But I think GCP, Azure, any of the major cloud providers, if you can dig into being an expert in any of those realms, you're probably good to go.
Yeah. The main takeaway is there is so much data, right? And a lot of
Hmm.
these companies, they have tons of data, A, and B, they are trying to migrate that data to the cloud. So
Yeah,
I think, these cloud skills are things that I think everybody should be developing in addition to deepening their own sort of primary and secondary coding languages. But also looking for that sweet spot when you're getting into a company that is in transition and sort of utilizing those skills, crucial.
for sure. And I think in addition to that, we're talking about expanding your skill set as a developer, just getting familiar with CI/CD tools. We saw a lot of Jenkins
Yeah.
there. Wherever you are looking to get your hands on some like software development lifecycle skills where you're building from end to end, doing the whole release, deployment,
Mhm.
maintenance, all of that. Get your experience there you can use GitHub to do that
Yeah.
and get your hands on that if you don't have that sort of corporate or enterprise level experience. But that's definitely what they're looking for. They're looking for people that know how to deploy and
Yeah.
maintain code bases. So I think that pretty much rounds out what we saw as far as tech trends on the
Yeah, I
floor.
think a reminder too, AI is here, right? AI is
Right, right.
everywhere, but it is not the only thing, right? There are other avenues to go down, and there are other sort of specifications. I don't think every company is leaning into AI in the large ways that we perceive from, our social channels.
For sure. I think in some of the industries where there's concerns about compliance and
Mm-hmm.
security, they're not really diving so deep into AI. I can't really say for sure, but it seems like they're really just investing in secure and stable languages and frameworks. So
Yeah.
just going back to like Java and C++, like that's kind of where we're seeing that investment go.
Yeah, and I'm sure every company is doing a little something with AI, but we're talking
For
about the
sure.
roles that we were seeing actively recruited for on the expo floor. So if you're looking today for that next role, it's not to say that it can't be an AI. It absolutely can, but there are other avenues to go down. And so if you're feeling that pressure to specialize in AI and really go all in there, you can do that, but you can you can take that time to slowly build that skill set. I don't think that it was not the number one driver the way I think we were expecting.
Yeah, definitely not. Oh, I should mention this is not either of our realm, but there were roles for game developers there.
Yeah, a lot of game
which
developer roles.
was
Yeah,
it's kind of surprising to me. So I don't really have much experience in that area outside of being a consumer of video games.
right.
But if you are an early career game dev, you might find some opportunities at AfroTech. We saw a Pokemon company represented there, Roblox, Riot Games.
Yeah.
They were showing out. They had really fun booths there and some after hours networking events that you could have been invited to.
And
so
you touching on that really is making me think, right? Conferences are all about networking. We did so much of it. How easy was it to really make meaningful connections?
I feel that this was the easiest time that I've ever had networking. It was an environment where I think everyone was just expecting that to be the case. So everyone was really, really open to having random folks walk up to them, do their elevator pitch, and really just make that determination if this is a connection that that could be valuable to them. So I'm saying this as an introvert. I really, really enjoyed networking at this conference.
That makes me so happy to hear. And I couldn't agree more. I identify extremely as an extrovert. But I think the one thing that I really appreciate about attending this conference specifically with Zea is that I feel like we both have really strong understandings of each other's skills and that we really operate well as a team, right? So there were times where I felt that comfort because I was in a conversation with someone I don't know, I'm just meeting for the first time, a recruiter, and someone that is my friend, someone that I have that comfort level with. So that definitely disarmed me. So I feel like if you can network in pairs, it is so much easier. It is so much more seamless.
So much more fun too.
Way more fun. And I feel like at this conference, I've never had the experience where you're just standing around and someone sees you smiling and just starts talking to you. And that happened to us everywhere we went, that folks were
for sure
just coming up to you, just saying hello, introducing themselves. Tell me about your work. Tell me about your specialty in tech. Where are you from? How did you get here? So many conversations. And yeah, maybe that's not a person that's a recruiter, right? Not today, but 2 years from now, maybe it is. And so I really felt that social camaraderie that sometimes can feel difficult in tech. And I think that specifically that social camaraderie of the Black tech community, it was so powerful.
It really was incredibly powerful. I feel like even just in the few days after the conference, going on LinkedIn, seeing my feed, seeing all these wonderful Black people in tech posting about their experiences, or just the fact that I am connected to so many more Black people in tech now.
Absolutely.
And in different areas too, not just software engineers. I met risk analysis people, cybersecurity specialists. I don't even know what some of these jobs are, but I'm happy to be connected to them. Because you never know where your career is going to take you, or where you can learn from all of these people. So a lot of our connecting with recruiters did happen on the expo floor. So all of the companies had their booths set up. A lot of the larger ones, or the companies that were hiring for more than one department, kind of had sections in their booth where they had okay, this is the person to talk to for data. This is the person to talk to for software development. Cool. And I thought that was really cool. And that was kind of where we made a lot of our, I guess, more professional connections as far as getting a job goes.
And you touched on something that I want to talk a little bit more about, which is these private networking events. What is the deal with the private networking events? Tell me everything.
Okay. So, and I don't think either one of us knew about this beforehand. We were not in the know.
I had no idea. I have never seen this at a conference before.
Okay. So as we were talking to recruiters or just people in the booths, just talking about ourselves and our experiences, all of a sudden that like secret QR code was coming out, and they were like, why don't you come and meet some more folks at this mixer tonight? So there were, I wouldn't even be able to count, but I think
No.
most of the companies there that had a larger presence had these private mixer events. So they'd, again, break out that secret QR code. You register for the event. And these events were kind of incredible. They were in really nice venues. We're getting like free food. All of their company members are there. So just like a really comfortable environment to continue to network with folks within one company.
Yeah. And I think what's really powerful is when networking, and we talk about this a lot privately, right? It is not about meeting someone and trying to get something from that relationship now. It's about developing that relationship, interacting with the person, and getting to know them. So I felt like these events were such a great way to be a little bit more relaxed than at the expo floor, and almost, see someone again and say, hey, how's it going? How is your day going? And catch up. And because there were, I think we spent, 3 days on the expo floor?
Yeah.
So, maybe on the first day you meet a company, there's that connection, you get invited to that networking mixer that same night. You still have 2 more days to make an impression. And I think this is a moment that helped us both to relax a bit and to remember that we can take a little bit of a slower approach with this style of networking, and we don't need to, we're not sending the resume on day one necessarily, but that is in the back of our mind is how do we stay on top of mind, or how are we top of mind for these recruiters? And it felt great to be invited to several of these events. It felt awesome. At one point, we had more events than we had time to be at them.
Yeah.
And that was great. And I think it is important the ways that companies court talent. And I think specifically, it says a lot about a company's commitment to diversity and specifically to hiring Black talent when they are funding an event like AfroTech, or they are a large contributor to an event like AfroTech. They're hosting these mixers, and they are making sure that you as a candidate are seen and welcomed, and that they're bringing from teams folks that work there that can speak to their own experience that you are going to be able to connect with.
Yeah, and I think just expanding on that, it's great for them to be able to court talent, but also it's great for you to find the right fit. One of our favorite experiences, we felt just so comfortable with everyone that we spoke to at the mixer, and kind of really guided us on which relationships we were going to reinforce later on, just beyond just the connecting, but just try and really follow up on those because of the wonderful experience that we had. And we're like, okay, like this really is maybe a little bit more of an insight into the company culture, because they're not just on the floor. We're seeing, folks in the after hours when they have that delicious barbecue in their bellies and maybe a cocktail or two, and there's dancing and there's like just like these conversations that are happening outside of work. It's like, oh, I can actually just like have a fun conversation with this person. And then maybe the next day you're going to the expo and you're, waiting and, reminding them of that conversation that you had that had nothing to do with work. And that should be your signal as the one that's looking for your next role. Like, where am I going to be most comfortable? Where am I going to be able to show up as myself? Where are there going to be other people that are like me?
Yeah. I think also touching on that is such an important point. And it almost reminds me too, you and I both have, almost 2 decades of professional experience, whether it be in tech or outside of tech, as career transitioners. So for me, these sorts of events and mixers don't feel out of place at all, because I'm very used to having a professional environment where, there might be an open bar situation. And so I think especially if you are a student or a sort of early career person navigating some of these events, it is nice to be able to take like a more laid back approach. And like I even ran into a recruiter at the airport, and he's with his wife. I didn't want to take that as a time to like aggressively network, but I did say hello and give them their space. But these networking events are professional events for you and for those recruiters. They are using this as an opportunity to show you what it's like to work there. And yeah, it's so easy to get enthralled by the open bar, the barbecue, all that stuff, to be chatting, amongst your peers. But those recruiters are there. And so meeting new faces, more people, this is going to help get you in the door.
Right. Yeah. And I think even beyond the company-sponsored mixing events, if you're in Houston during that week, pretty much any after-hours event that you're going to, even if it's not sponsored by a company, there are definitely going to be recruiters and other developers and data engineers and whoever else is going to be out there, because everybody's trying to just enjoy themselves while they're there. So I think that that's also another opportunity for you to maybe make some of those connections, maybe not even professional ones necessarily, but if they're going to be used as a professional resource, just be mindful while you're out in the world of where that line is going over from having fun to maybe being a little messy.
Yeah, for sure. And to be clear, right, we did not see that. We did not see the
We did
messy.
not see that. Correct.
No, but even something as simple as just, it's not even about conducting yourself. It's really about keeping your why in mind, right? Keeping your why in focus. So even when you are a little bit more laid back, these are casual events for a reason. You still have that why in mind.
Correct. And I just want to, I don't know if we ever clarified, but as far as getting to these invite-only events, it really comes down to your pitch and kind of how you're talking to these recruiters and company members on the expo floor. So something that Kat and I did was sort of A/B test our pitch and how we're talking about ourselves. Because, these recruiters, they're talking to folks all day, every day, and they're kind of just listening for some cues. And it's really, really nice to be polite, but I don't think that you need to spend so much time kind of beating around the bush, asking about their day. They know why you're approaching them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if anything, it's all of the niceties, they don't apply, right? That, hey, how are you? How's it going? Like, we're all busy. It's overwhelming for everyone. Let's get to it. Tell me about you. What do you do? What is your tech stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you can get your pitch to be down to 15 seconds, really highlight who you are as a person, but also your tech superpowers, I think that's going to be a little bit better for you to get that extended that invite to mix a little bit more with their community.
And this is also a reminder too that your skills don't mean that you are not the right fit for this company. You just might not be in that moment the fit for the role that they are hiring for, right? So an example, sometimes my pitch is just, hi, my name, I'm a backend Java developer. Are there any roles that you're hiring for that align with that skill set? And sometimes I would list more languages and I would be a little bit more detailed, maybe list 3 or 4 sort of key things that I see a lot of. And sometimes the answer is no, but we do this, 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 and we're continuing the conversation that way. But a recruiter being able to hear the languages that you write code in, your specialty in tech, helps them to know where they can actively put you into roles that they're hiring, or that they might need to stay connected to you when they are hiring for that specialty.
Exactly. And I also want to point out that sometimes companies have recruiters for different lines of business. They have recruiters for different years of experience. So sometimes you're just not talking to the right person, even if it is the right company. So if you're talking to someone, maybe try and get to know what they're hiring for. So what do you hire for is going to give you that insight. If you're an early career person and you're talking to the person that's looking for experienced talent, you may ask them, like, hey, is there anyone here that is working with early career talent? Or sometimes you just need to take a lap and come back after the lunch break and see who else is at the booth. So definitely, if you know the company that you are going for, do a little research beforehand. make sure that what you have to offer is something that they're looking for, and then keep on trying. If there's a dozen recruiters, you should be shaking hands with all of them.
I agree 100%, right? It's better to be known by everyone than to be, missing that crucial person. And you touched on something that reminded me, and I don't even think had planned to discuss this, or I don't even think we had outlined it, but interviews.
Yes.
So one of the things that I was really surprised to see is that AfroTech on one of the upper levels had really set aside all of these different spaces for companies to be conducting on-site interviews during the conference. I did an on-site interview, and I had arranged my interview before I even got to the conference. And if I had any understanding of the scale of on-site interviews at AfroTech, I would have doubled my effort to be trying to schedule them, connecting with folks. And I think that that's a huge thing to consider. That first day on the conference floor is so crucial, because that is when they're looking to sort of fill up some of those on-site interview slots. And some recruiters were in advance of the conference booking some of those slots, and some weren't. But it is so crucial to have an awareness of that. I wasn't expecting it. Had you heard anything about that, Zee?
Oh, I hadn't heard anything about that. And I think that my advice to folks going in 2025 would be to make those social media posts, make those LinkedIn posts, and then do your due diligence. And, click on that AfroTech hashtag. And there's so many recruiters talking about how they're hiring at AfroTech. I went through, hindsight's 2020. So many recruiters were posting that their companies were hiring. I think this is maybe the one sort of occasion where you may want to do that cold outreach on LinkedIn and shoot that message to the recruiter, because they are looking to hire people or to interview people at least. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I wouldn't typically recommend cold calling recruiters on LinkedIn, but I think in this case, look for those companies that are hiring. Look for the companies that are even sponsoring or just going to be there, and see if there's anyone posting about preparing to travel, and see if you can make those connections early on.
Absolutely. And that was something that I did, actually, that I noticed an immediate change of activity, just even on my own LinkedIn profile, was me posting about attending to AfroTech in advance of it. And to be honest, my only regret as far as that goes is not doing more in advance of the conference, whether it was posting more often about attending AfroTech, whether it was researching more specific recruiters that were going to be attending AfroTech. That was something that surprised me. And I mean, I will definitely be viewing it differently in the future.
Yeah. I know we maybe did not plan to talk about this, but you just reminded me in preparing for AfroTech. I was not expecting the dress code.
What you're gonna say? Yes. Okay. Yeah, the dress code.
So Kat and I are typical nerdy girl software engineers. Day one, going to pick up badges. I'm walking into the expo in cargo pants and a tank top, because that is my daily uniform.
And I was okay. Also, I live on the East Coast, where it is very cold in November. So I was just so excited to be in 80-degree weather. So of course I'm like, I'm packing jean shorts. I'm wearing jean shorts. I'm so excited. I get to have my legs out. And I was wearing jean shorts and like a thrifted top, like very colorful, totally my personality. And we walked in, and mind you, this was Tuesday. So this was the day before the conference started. The conference was Wednesday to Saturday. We flew in on Tuesday. We flew out on Sunday. So we had lots of buffer time. It was fantastic. We walked in, and immediately we were like, oh my God. I almost thought the conference started on Tuesday, because everyone was in a suit. Everyone was in a suit, not business casual. We're talking business. And this is just badge pickup day. So I'm thinking it's the most casual. We're about to run around Houston and go eat some barbecue. That was surprising. So
that was surprising.
I mean, I think we could talk about why that difference exists. But and we should, right? What advice
Yeah.
would you give to somebody who's attending AfroTech for the first time in terms of dress, professionalism, and expectations?
So I would say, oh, this is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I am an experienced engineer. And so
Right.
I do think
And a
that,
damn good one at.
okay. uh, I do not feel as much pressure to
Mm-hmm.
show up in a certain way.
Right.
So I did make sure that I had, some slacks,
Yeah.
maybe, like a nice sweater. Most of the stuff that I brought was probably just too warm overall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
We
I
know
was
why that
not.
was, because they love the AC in Houston.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Turn off the AC. It's not that hot. Um, but yeah, I prefer comfort.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of walking. There is
Mm-hmm.
a lot to see and do, and I just don't want to be encumbered by like the clothes that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
But if you are a dressier person, feel free to show out. We saw people
Yeah.
walking around in stilettos and
Uh-huh.
in three-piece suits, and I
Yep.
loved it. It was beautiful.
And
It's
looking
just
good.
not, I'm looking good. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not necessary. So I don't want anyone to feel pressured to like
Yeah.
try and hit that standard. But I also think the other side of it is that a lot of early career talent, I do think, wants to show up and look their best because
Yeah.
maybe their resume doesn't really speak to that professionalism just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kat said, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a career transitioner. I have so many years of experience in tech and out of tech. So I don't really feel that I need to convince a company that I'm okay to take a risk on the professionalism side
Yeah.
because I'm not 22.
And I do think that this comes from historically feeling like we have to be more professional so that we are
hmm
taken seriously and so that our skills are taken seriously. I mean, I come from a family of people who are dressing professionally to go to the doctor's office so that they're listened to and believed by doctors, right?
Right.
So I understand, I think in general, right? And we should have known this. Dressing standards are different, right? They're different in the Black community than they are in the wider world of tech, and that is okay.
Exactly.
I definitely was underprepared. I think I had brought like one suit and then like a skirt set. It was like a satin skirt. So it did progressively get a little bit more casual as the days went on.
True.
But I don't think it's necessarily bad to stand out by being more casual. I think it's something to mentally prepare for. And I also feel like it's a reminder. I'm used to working on engineering teams where it's like hoodie jeans, and that's as much as it gets. I used to work with somebody who would run to the office and be wearing running clothes and then work and then run home. And
Yeah.
so that is like the level of casual. But I also, again, I am on the East Coast where we in general have like a much more casual style of dress, I think, than other parts of
True.
the country. And so I think I would definitely pack a little bit differently. You are going to be inside almost the entire day in a heavily air conditioned space because it's hundreds of people in a very large convention center. That AC is strong. Yes, it was 80 degrees outside, but I would have packed for colder if I had considered it.
Yeah.
We did have an
Yeah.
emergency trip to Target.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to make an emergency. You know what? We were going to take that trip either way, though,
Yeah, that's true.
because,
We
maybe some
needed
allergy
stuff.
meds got
Oh
left
yeah.
behind. I just wasn't expecting to have to also purchase a blouse,
Right.
So,
Exactly.
um, so yeah, just keep that in mind. But I think that if you like to get gussied up, go for
Yeah.
it. I'm talking nice
Mm-hmm.
suits, full beats on the face.
Absolutely.
I loved it. I was not going to aspire that high personally, though.
I'm a very casual person in my life generally. The one thing I will say though is I think sometimes we can tend to dress sort of with the perception of how we will be received. This is not the conference where that needs to be your main concern. And so
Yeah,
if you are a dressier person and you dress in colorful clothing and that's what you like, dress that way, right? Because there are other people who are expressing themselves, and I personally love to see it. I definitely saw like some commentary like, "Oh, Afrotech is a fashion show." Okay, and what about it? What would be the problem there? Again, we're whole
Yeah.
human beings and we need to express ourselves. I like to wear clothes that make me feel good, but that is not necessarily my primary way of expressing myself. So I like that. It was a little bit hard for me to be like, oh man, I have to wear makeup again. But that's a pretty easy problem to have, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess let's talk about key takeaways.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, let's just answer some quick fire questions. Would we go
Yeah.
back? Would we encourage others to go?
Hmm.
Who would we encourage to go? And
Hmm.
whose money are we spending?
Right. I know that's the big question. Okay, so would you go back?
Yes, 100%. Book me for
Same.
2025.
100%. I'm going in 2025. And we were already like, how do we bring our friends, how do we bring our crew back?
Hmm.
Because it was such an amazing experience. And I think truly one of the better conference experiences that I've had this year. And I have had quite a few. I 100% will be back. And that's whether I'm looking for a new role or not, right? It is
Yeah,
it is a 10 out of 10 experience.
for sure. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that I would put extra emphasis on going if you are a job hunter,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're an early career uh technologist.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that they were pretty friendly to non-traditional pathways as well. So if you're
Absolutely.
in the college sophomore, junior, senior realm, you should absolutely go. But also if
Mm-hmm.
you're a career transitioner and you have gone to a boot camp, there's still opportunity there for you. I will say, just a little caveat, I know that most boot camps, at least in our area, are like web development focused. Take some time before the conference to prepare
Yeah.
some projects in one of those more object-oriented programming languages like Java.
Agree. 100% agree. I was so impressed by how many students I saw who were looking for internships. And it just wowed me thinking, as a sophomore in college, what it would have meant to have access to a community like this.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing. So I think, especially if you like, I would encourage students to go. I would encourage early career folks to go. And I'm going to be honest with you, and very transparent. As experienced talent, Z and I definitely were feeling the love. Definitely. And I think that especially if you are looking to, like I was definitely looking, right? And looking to, meet and be recruited. And
Hmm.
I definitely noticed that there was that extra eye on that experienced talent. So if
Yeah,
you are maybe a little stuck in your job search or you're just wanting to try something different, go to AfroTech. I am telling you.
for sure. If you are looking for a role, spend your money, invest in
Hmm.
yourself. This is the
Yeah.
conference to go to. And I can say that confidently after having attended like 4 or 5 conferences this year.
Hmm.
This is the one that I would go to if you're looking for opportunity to get recruited. If you are there for the sessions, get your company to sponsor one
Yeah.
of those
Agree. Agree.
executive tickets.
Hmm.
Think there was a lot of opportunity in the sessions and the workshops to get some valuable experience and education. It is worth it to use your company's education fund or conference fund to
Hmm.
go. This is the one that I would pick for that as well.
And what I would add too, right? Just closing the loop on my initial shock of seeing the price for this conference ticket. What I will say, having gone through the entire experience, on the other side, I felt like every last cent was well spent. Whether it
Hmm.
was because at the end of the day, you are in front of recruiters directly right in front of their face. You are meeting folks at these private networking events. You are meeting people from all areas of the industry. You are meeting your peers. You are developing these long-term relationships. I already have a list of people that next year I'm going to try to meet up with and catch up with throughout the year and check in on
Yeah,
what they're doing. That to me has never existed at this scale. It is worth it. And so as a person who spent her own money to attend AfroTech 2024, if I was not able to be sponsored by my company or by an organization that is sort of putting together engineers to send to AfroTech, I would still spend my own money to go.
For sure. And if you are a student or a recent boot camp grad, I didn't mention this before, but the student ticket does come with some focused workshops for career development. So I think there was like a resume workshop and student mixers. So there's value there as well, especially if you're a student. So, find who's going to sponsor that ticket. If the cost is an issue for you, now's the time to start doing your research. There 100%. Are so many opportunities to get free tickets through local organizations and meetup groups. We're not in Houston, and there were organizations in Philly that had opportunities for free tickets. Individuals on Twitter just sponsoring people to go. Google Conference Scholarship, shout out to them. There's all kinds of opportunity to make your way there on someone else's dime. Just do your research. Take your time to write that essay, write that post, give it a lot of thought, explaining why it would be so valuable for you to go. And if you can plan it out for a year, you should be able to find some way to get that cost subsidized.
100%. I had no idea how many companies, organizations are subsidizing tickets or sending groups of people to conferences. Had I known, I probably would have at least tried to pursue something like that. And so this is a situation where have AfroTech 2025 in your sights and start planning now and make that plan and plan ahead, and keep your eye on LinkedIn. I've already seen posts about companies who are seeking applications for their sponsored ticket for AfroTech 2025, or even just filling out the survey. If you are someone who's returning to AfroTech, there is an AfroTech census that enrolls you in a raffle to get a free ticket. Yeah, it might be a long shot, but these are all avenues, right, should be explored.
For sure. So, yeah, I think that's all we have for today. If you attended AfroTech, please let us know what your experience was. We'd love to connect with folks that went to AfroTech.
Absolutely.
And yeah, share some tips on how you would maximize your experience at AfroTech.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first episode of the Hot Cup of Code podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share your thoughts. Let us know what you think about conference culture. Until next time, keep coding, keep learning, and keep sipping on that hot cup of code.
Bye, guys.
Bye.